A pre-use inspection of your forklift truck is a legal requirement, and after all, you're going to be operating it. Here at the Training Society, we work under the governing body of ITSAR, and I'm going to demonstrate to you a simple way of performing a forklift check, where we start at the forks and work our way around in a system until eventually ending up by documenting the fact we've completed the check. We start our forklift check by the end of the forks, the tips of the forks, to make sure there's no damage here where somebody's grounded them out or otherwise done something daft. And then we move along the forks to the heel of the forks, and in particular we're looking here for any cracks that might form. This is where stress fracture, if there is going to be one, is likely to occur. The forks themselves actually attach to the forklift via the carriage plate, which is this large chunky piece of kit here. And on here in particular we're looking for no cracks, deformations, and these little corner bits here, these crenulations or castellations if you wish, they are the points that we use if we ever need to move the forks in or out different positions. So these should be nice and clean, nicely square, not rounded off. Whilst we're in this position, it's a good idea to check the backrest extension. This is designed to stop things coming and joining us in the cab. Give it a right good rattle because it clearly needs to be strong and firm if it's going to protect you from any possible harm or damage. The next thing we need to check is the mast. Whilst we're checking the mast, we can also look to see the condition of the chains and any hydraulic hoses that run on this side of it. If the mast has been abused, it's possible that one side twists out of alignment with the other. So this check is ideally done from literally looking straight between one and the other. So we'll start at the bottom, looking for any signs of hydraulic leaks. And as we move up the mast, we're checking for the chain condition to make sure it's not rusty or kinked or otherwise damaged in any way. And indeed, the mast itself should look rather good. When we get to the top, we should be able to see the top of the hydraulic ram, and we're looking there for any leaks or seeps of hydraulic fluid. There shouldn't be any at all. At the top of the mast, we have the rollers that the chains go across. These can be quite hard to see whilst the mast is in a down position, but we'll have our best look whilst we can. And in particular, we pay attention to the top of the lift cylinder here, and we make sure there's no weeps or seeps of hydraulic fluid there. So just have a check down here, make sure that's all good. And these two nuts here are actually what hold the very end of the chain, so they're quite important. They kind of make sure everything else still works. If we're happy with what we've seen so far, then as we move around the truck, it's a good idea to check the lights whilst we're here. We don't know if it works yet, we need to switch it on in a moment, but we know it's there and not damaged. We're going to look at the wheels and tyres to make sure they're looking good. And whilst we're here, a general look at the condition of the floor inside the cab. That's going to be our operating position. We don't want slips and trips as we get in and out of the equipment. Then we're going to check the overall appearance of the machine whilst we're here, make sure the seat is firmly attached, and check for damage that ultimately, if you don't declare, you're going to get blamed for. This is the FOP system, the Falling Object Protection System. This is clearly designed to stop things falling from height and landing and joining you. I'd give it a good rattle if I were you, make sure it really is there and firmly attached. Also at this point, just before we move around the back, we can check that the beacon is here and not broken. Again, we don't know if it's functioning yet, but we do know it's here and we do know it's not physically broken. Carrying on round our truck, we can make sure that the rear tyre and wheel is as good as it gets. It's really hard to see on a three-wheel truck, but do the best that you can at the time. Moving further around the truck, still checking for any signs of damage or degradation that might affect us, making sure that the battery cover is down and the other wheel and tyre is as you would expect it to be. Next, we're going to look at the assorted data plates and warning labels on the fork truck. They're really important, and we'll do a close-up of those for you right now. As you can see, these signs are designed to be read from the operator position. So to us at the moment, they appear upside down, but we can make sure they're here, because if they're not here, we can't be using the truck. We've got the capacity charts here for both without an attachment, and in our case, as we have cited, with an attachment, and we have the in-date thorough examination. That has got to be in date. Also reference to the manufacturer's handbook, that's absolutely fine, and a lovely blue "you must wear your seatbelt" sticker. Now that we're happy we've completed the outside checks, we're going to move and get ourselves sat in the fork truck, and the first thing we're going to do when we get there is to put our seatbelt on. It is important that you understand what happens when you first turn your fork truck on. You can refer to the manufacturer instructions, or of course ask a trainer to tell you about your particular equipment. Ours is electric, so when we turn the key on, nothing really exciting happens. These two check lights come on to prove that the bulbs work, stay for a second or so, and then turn themselves off. The power indicator gauge, as we're a battery truck, hopefully will move towards the green, and you may hear a vague ticking, which is the hour counter working. So we'll turn the key on, so it's not overly exciting. We have the two check lights, they go out. The power gauge has indeed moved up to the green position, and a real gentle ticking if you can just about hear that. So there's our starting procedure for an electric truck. On our particular truck, the only other thing that happens when you turn the ignition key on is the warning beacon starts working, so we can tick that off on our checklist. Staying on the subject of lights, we can just put the lights on. Not all fork trucks do have lights, and we'll just make sure they both work as well. On our fork truck, the horn is situated on a foot-operated pedal just to the left. Most people find that out once or twice as they get on or off the truck during the course of their training. The other way we have of letting people know we're here is the reversing beeper. So make sure the handbrake is applied. I like to put my foot on the brake as well, just to be really sure. And if you select reverse gear, we have a reversing beeper. So we can now tick off the audible warning section of our forklift pre-use check sheet. The next thing we would do is operate all of the hydraulic controls to make sure they function correctly. And just before you do that, make sure that there is space above you so that you do not put your forks or mast through the ceiling. In the interest of brevity today, all I'm going to do is so that this one, the lever on the left, is what I call left for lift and lower. The one in the middle, I call M for mast, and that does the tilt forwards and backwards. And over here, not part of a standard course, but we will teach it if required, is the lever for controlling the side shift. There may be other levers across here depending on the other attachments your fork truck has applied to it. So what we'll do is make sure that with nice clear working space, we're going to lift the forks all the way as far as they will go, leave them up there for a couple of seconds to make sure the check valve works and the forks don't creep down. We're going to use full forward tilt and full backwards tilt just to make sure everything works. Lower the forks back down to a nice travel position, and then if you do want to check the other attachments, then by all means work through those. The only thing that remains now is to actually drive the fork truck to make sure the brakes work and the steering works, and I'm sure that you can manage to work that out for yourselves. So that concludes this video on pre-use inspections of a forklift truck. Please refer to the manufacturer instructions if there's anything you're not sure of, and if you have any issues with the truck, then park it up, remove your key. Ideally, if you can, put a sign on it saying vehicle off-road or VOR, and report that to your supervisor. Under no conditions do you operate a forklift truck. This is faulty. Finally, nothing's complete until the paperwork's done, so please fill in the appropriate forklift check sheet. Whether that's a paperwork system or a computerized system is entirely up to your employer, but you do need to sign to say that you have actually completed a pre-use inspection check. I hope you found that useful. Please bear in mind, this check has been done specifically with our electrically propelled counterbalance forklift truck. Other trucks may have variations depending on their power source and how big they are. If ever in doubt, refer to the manufacturer's instructions, or of course seek supervision from your trainer management team up the line. Thank you for watching. Any questions, please feel free to fire them down in comments, and we look forward to training you at the Training Society.